Hi everyone, Yana is here, and you're watching Card a Month video series. For today's project, I picked out a few of my supplies from my stash, which are this anchor paper from Bella Boulevard. It's one from their newest collections. I'm not quite sure from which one. I think it's from Molly. I also have a stamp set from Avery Elle, and I plan to use this little boat and a matching sentiment, "You Float My Boat." I also have this tag stamp from Hero Arts. This is a Christmas stamp, but I'm going to mask that Christmassy portion there and only use the outline. The stamp comes from this large teaching set that I got at the CHA from Hero Arts, but I'm sure it's a part of a smaller set as well. I also have some little pieces of scrap paper which I plan to use for the boat and also for the tags. And finally, I have some aqua floss from Weird Memory Keepers and some fine gold embossing powder from Hero Arts and some embossing ink from Dovecraft. So I've picked out a couple of designs of pattern paper and this tag stamp from Hero Arts, and I'm masking the sentiment portion of the stamp using some washi tape. Now I'm adding some ink and removing the washi tape, gently removing the washi tape, and this way I have only an outline of my tag stamp inked, and I'm going to stamp that on a piece of paper from Studio Calico. I ended up not using a piece of paper, but I still wanted to show you the stamping technique on video, because for my second stamp tag I wasn't using any washi tape to mask, and I did stamp a little bit of that sentiment. You can see that in the bottom there. It didn't bother me at the moment because I was planning on using that tag behind the lighter tag, so I wasn't concerned about that, but then in the end I changed my design a little bit, and I'll show you that in a minute. So the tag on white paper didn't stamp as well as I had hoped, so I used a little photo marker from American Crafts, to draw that little line there. And I also punched the holes in my tags to make them look more realistic. Now I'm moving on to stamping a boat, and I'm using this gradient paper. I absolutely love it, and I only have a little piece left. This is from American Crafts. So I'm stamping a boat with clear embossing ink, and my stamp was a bit dirty, so that's why you can see a boat a little bit, but it doesn't bother me since I'm going to be covering it with non-clear embossing powder, gold embossing powder. So that's what I'm doing. I'm covering the stamped boat on a gradient paper and also a stamped boat on a tag with gold embossing powder, and I'm heat embossing it with my heat tool. Now I've cut out all these little pieces, the sail and the boat itself, out of the gradient paper, and I'm using a little bit of glue to adhere the pieces onto the tag. So the tag itself is sort of like a ledger paper, but since I'm using that gradient paper, it kind of masks that ledger and creates a solid sort of like a background for my boat. It doesn't stand out very much, but it's still a nice adds a nice contrast. So now I'm moving on to stamping a sentiment, and I picked out a matching sentiment from the Avery Elle set, which reads "You Float My Boat," and I absolutely love it. I think it's just so cute. So I'm using once again clear embossing ink from Dovecraft and the exact same gold embossing powder from Hero Arts, and I'm heat embossing my sentiment to match the boat. Now I'm trimming the ends of the sentiment of my little paper into a banner, and I decided to make it a little bit more interesting and, make it pop a little bit. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer and the scoring tool to create score some lines. But before I did that, I wanted to test a little theory of mine about scoring at an angle, not at a straight angle, but it's sort of like a 45-degree angle, something like that. So I tested that first, and you can see me experimenting here. So the first score line is at a little 45-degree angle, or maybe 75, I'm not sure. And then the second one is a straight angle. I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but you can see what I'm doing here in the video. So I've scored both ends of my banner, and I ended up having this little fun, sort of like a crooked banner for my card. And then I decided I needed to add some gold to my background, and I picked my double-sided embossing, double-sided tape, and I added a little strip to the right side of my card, and I'm going to add a little bit of Martha Stewart Floor Gold glitter. It's a fine glitter, and I really like the way it goes. It adheres to double-sided tape. Just creates a nice little accent there. Now, since this double-sided paper from Bella Boulevard is a rather thin one, and because I wanted to use some foam adhesive on my card, I decided I needed to make it a little bit more sturdy. So I'm adhering a piece of cardstock. This is a leftover piece of cardstock from one of my previous experiments. So I've adhered that cardstock to the back of my double-sided paper. And now I'm adding some foam squares from Def Craft and adhering the background, the pattern paper to my background, and it creates a little bit of dimension. Now, once again, I'm using the exact same foam squares, and I'm adding those behind to my tag, and I'm centering the card, making sure everything is centered and positioned properly. And I also added some Beer Memory Keepers Aqua Floss to the tag to more realistic. Now, once again, I'm adhering a couple of double-sided foam squares to the back of the banner, and I'm placing the banner at the bottom portion of the tag, covering that piece of stamped sentiment that I had. Now, finally, I added some sequins to my card, and that finished up my project. I really hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. Please stop by again.